Philadelphia experiment, revelations of Bielek, who jumped from the ship Eldridge and supposedly traveled through time. Bielek discussed what he remembers from the 6 weeks he lived in the year 2137 and the 2 years he slept in 2749, according to him. And now the writer here says, I want to emphasize one thing, that the many of the events described as happening are happening now in our present. Now, the Montauk Project was a series of U.S. government projects secretly conducted at Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Base on the tip of Long Island in New York to develop psychological warfare techniques and what they call exotic research, including time travel. Jacques Vallée describes the Montauk Project as a sequel to the Philadelphia experiment. Al describes what he remembers after jumping from the USS Eldridge on August 13th, 1943. That's the date of the Philadelphia experiment. He found himself with his brother Duncan Cameron in a future hospital for 6 weeks, recovering from a radiation injury, he says. The medical system of the future uses vibrations and light therapies, according to him. The TV show where educational informative programs were shown concerning what he claims. What he observed, he says, is that the changes in the Earth caused many geographical changes that began in the beginning of the 21st century until 2025. Well, we haven't seen that. Now, the coasts and inlands of the U.S. and Europe were radically different from what they are now, he said. The water level had risen and Florida fell sharply to Panhandle, and Atlanta, Georgia was only 3 miles from the ocean. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. Atlanta, Georgia was only 3 miles from the ocean, he claims, and the Mississippi became an inland lagoon. The Great Lakes became a large lake, he says. The U.S. infrastructure collapsed. The United States and Canada were no longer referred to as nations. A loose form of local martial law existed in 2137. The central government did not exist. This is all according to him. The Earth's magnetic poles began to shift, but during this time, an artificial pole structure was created to prevent the magnetic poles from collapsing and reversing, he says, and as a result, the poles were not inverted. The world population shrunk to 300 million, according to him, and the U.S. population about 50 million. And he claims that between the years 1954 and 2000, our government collaborated with aliens to acquire technology, engineering model to be built, and vice versa, in all their technologies. Well, this has not happened. Now, the problem started, he says, in the year 2003-2005. The New World Order occupied the planet, but then a war broke out, and that again has not happened. At one point, a war broke out between Russia and Chinese against U.S. and Europe. That again has not happened. A number of U.S. cities were destroyed. A New World Order collapsed. Again, that has not happened. Now, the government has the technology to reduce the damage from radiation and nuclear waste in a few days, even now, but refuses to use it for political reasons. In the future, he says the technology will be used to clean up radiation left over from future wars. It was then found inexplicably in the year 2749 for almost 2 years. That's when he was found. He finds himself. He talks about what he learned when he was there. He was then taken back to the year 2137 to pick up Duncan, after which both were taken into the year 1983. Now, there were land cities and floating cities. Floating cities could be transported to different parts of the world, he claims. The synthetic computer intelligence system was a computer system that did everything. There was no government. It was a huge floating crystal structure. He interviewed them telepathically, he says. The structure of society was completely socialist. There was care for the basic survival needs of all. And of course, we know that Bielek is considered a very controversial figure. both he and the journey he claims to have made are controversial. However, according to him, not only did he not travel to the future, but he did not even participate in what people are trying to debunk him for. He didn't even participate in the so-called Philadelphia experiment. He's put up various videos, but doesn't really show much. He's just sort of trying to promote himself. This I've translated for you for a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support.